The ultimatum. The massive alien vessel materialized above Earth with no warning. One moment the skies were clear, the next a ship that dwarfed anything humans had ever built hung silently over the Pacific Ocean. Commander Eliza Thorne stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's flagship, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien behemoth. "Any response to our hails, Lieutenant?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. Lieutenant Quan shook his head. "Nothing yet, Commander. Wait, incoming transmission." The holographic display flickered, and an alien figure appeared. It had iridescent scales that shifted between purple and green, 4 arms, and eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, which was the first surprise of many. "I am High Chancellor Vexthor of the Galactic Consortium. Your species has been observed and deemed eligible for inclusion in our community. Prepare a diplomatic envoy to discuss the terms of your acceptance." Within hours, Commander Thorne and Dr. Arjun Patel, Earth's leading xenolinguist, were shuttled to the alien vessel. The interior was vast, with ceilings that stretched into darkness and corridors that seemed to bend in ways that defied Euclidean geometry. "Something feels wrong," whispered Dr. Patel as they were led through the ship. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours, yet they speak our language perfectly. They've clearly been watching us for some time." The diplomatic chamber they entered was enormous, with raised platforms where representatives of 7 different alien species sat looking down at them. High Chancellor Vexthor's platform was highest of all, his 4 arms spread wide in what seemed like a welcoming gesture, but Thorne noted how his clawed fingers tensed, like a predator ready to strike. "Humanity stands before the consortium," announced Vexthor. "For 50,000 cycles, we have guided lesser species into the galactic community. Now, it is your turn." Dr. Patel stepped forward. "We are honored by your interest in Earth and look forward to peaceful cultural exchange." A ripple of what might have been laughter moved through the alien representatives. "Cultural exchange," said a floating creature composed of luminous gas. "Primitive species do not exchange. They receive guidance." As the meeting progressed, the terms of Earth's acceptance became clear. Earth would surrender control of its resources, provide labor forces for consortium projects, and dismantle its military. In exchange, they would receive protection and limited access to consortium technology. "This isn't an alliance," Commander Thorne said, her voice tight with anger. "It's subjugation." "It is the natural order," replied Vexthor. "Young species require oversight. Your development has been concerning. Humans advance too quickly, adapt too readily. You will sign the agreement tomorrow. This is not negotiable." As they were escorted to their quarters, Thorne noticed something odd. Some of the smaller alien species seemed uncomfortable with the proceedings. A diminutive reptilian creature with large, expressive eyes caught her gaze and quickly looked away, as if ashamed. In their private chamber, Thorne activated a jamming device. "We need to learn more," she told Patel. "This isn't right." "I think I can access their network," Patel replied. "Their language translation system gave me ideas about their communication protocols." While Thorne kept watch, Patel worked through the night, his fingers flying over his portable terminal. What he discovered made his blood run cold. "They've done this before," he whispered, showing Thorne the display. 27 species in the last millennium. They identify promising races, force them into these protection agreements, then systematically strip them of resources and use them as labor. Species that resist are eliminated. But there was something even more disturbing. A file labeled Human Containment Protocol, detailed plans to release engineered pathogens on Earth that would weaken resistance while leaving infrastructure intact. "This isn't a diplomatic mission," Patel said, his voice shaking. "It's the prelude to an invasion. Why go to all this trouble?" Thorne wondered. With their technology, they could simply take what they want. Patel pointed to another file. Because they're afraid of us. Look at these analyses. They've been studying human history, our wars, our rapid technological development. One report says, no species has ever advanced from rudimentary computing to quantum mechanics in less than a century. Human adaptability represents a potential threat to consortium stability. As they studied the files, an alert sounded in the corridor. Their intrusion had been detected. We need to warn Earth, Thorne said, quickly downloading the files to a secure drive. The door to their chamber slid open, revealing the small reptilian alien they had noticed earlier. Quickly, it said in a whispered trill, "I am Zix of the Trillari. There are others who question the consortium's methods. Follow me." Zix led them through maintenance tunnels to a small hangar where other aliens, representatives of species that had been subjugated by the consortium, were waiting with a shuttle. "Why are you helping us?" Thorne asked. "Because in 50,000 cycles, no species has ever questioned the terms as you did," Zix replied. "The consortium fears what humans might become if left free. That gives us hope." As they prepared to escape, an alarm blared through the ship. "Intruder alert in Sector 7. All security units respond." "Go now," urged Zix, pressing a data crystal into Thorne's hand. "This contains evidence of what the consortium has done to countless worlds. Show your leaders." Their shuttle barely escaped the massive ship, dodging energy beams as they raced back to Earth. Once safely aboard the horizon, they transmitted the consortium's files to every government on Earth. "We have 24 hours before they expect our surrender," Thorne told the emergency UN Security Council meeting. "They think we'll capitulate like every other species." "But what choice do we have?" asked the Secretary General. "Their technology is far superior to ours." Dr. Paddle stepped forward. Their file on humanity contained something interesting. They'd been watching us for decades, but they've never directly observed our military installations or research facilities. They don't know about Project Aegis. Project Aegis was Earth's greatest secret, a defensive shield system developed after the discovery of alien ruins on Mars 30 years ago. Scientists had reverse-engineered the technology to create a planetary shield and a fleet of advanced ships hidden in underground bases around the world. "We have one advantage," Thorne continued. "They expect us to follow the pattern of other species, to either surrender or fight conventionally and lose. But humans have never been good at doing what's expected." The plan they developed was audacious. Instead of signing the agreement or mounting a doomed defense, humanity would do something the consortium had never encountered in 50,000 years. They would walk away. The next day, Commander Thorne and Dr. Puddle returned to the consortium ship. High Chancellor Vexthor loomed over them, all four arms extended to present the agreement. "Sign," he commanded. "Your species will be better for our guidance." Thorne looked up at him, her gaze steady. "No." The chamber fell silent. The concept of refusal was so alien that Vexthor seemed unable to process it. "What did you say?" he finally hissed. "I said no," Thorne repeated. "Humanity rejects your offer. We have seen what you've done to other species. We know about your containment protocol. Earth will not surrender." "Then you have chosen extinction," Vexthor snarled, rising to his full height. "No species has ever defied the consortium and survived." "No species like us has ever joined your consortium," Paddle replied calmly. As Vexthor signaled his guards, Thorne activated a small device on her wrist. Throughout the chamber, small holographic projectors activated, broadcasting the consortium's secret files to every species present. Evidence of their crimes against dozens of worlds played out for all to see. "We're not just rejecting your offer," Thorne announced to the stunned silence. "We're exposing you to the galaxy." The transmission was being broadcast not just in the chamber, but to every ship and colony in the consortium's domain. For the first time in 50,000 years, the truth was visible to all. "You cannot leave." Vexthor roared as guards surrounded Thorne and Paddle. "Seize them." But as the guards moved in, both humans shimmered and disappeared. holographic projections the entire time. The real Thorn and Puddle were already back on Earth, where Project Aegis was activating. Around the planet, massive shield generators powered up, creating an impenetrable barrier just as the consortium's warships arrived. In orbit, Earth's hidden fleet emerged from lunar bases and asteroid hideaways, their advanced technology shocking the consortium forces. Humanity doesn't just reject your terms. Thorn's voice echoed across all consortium channels. We're leaving your corrupt system entirely, and we're taking our future with us. As the consortium ships prepared to attack, the unthinkable happened. The shield around Earth pulsed once, twice, and then the entire planet vanished from space, teleported to a new location using technology the humans had kept hidden for decades. In that moment, humanity did what no species had done in the history of the consortium. They refused to play by the rules. The galactic order that had stood for 50,000 years faced its first true challenge, and nothing would ever be the same. The revolution. The disappearance of Earth sent shockwaves through the galactic consortium. High Chancellor Vexthor called an emergency session of the Consortium Council, his scales flashing crimson with rage. "Find them," he thundered to the assembled representatives. "No primitive species can be allowed to defy the consortium and escape punishment." But Earth was nowhere to be found. The humans had used technology the consortium didn't understand to relocate their entire planet to a distant, uncharted region of space. It was an act that should have been impossible, a level of technological achievement that the consortium had deliberately prevented any young species from reaching. On the newly relocated Earth, Commander Thorn stood in the Global Defense Center, watching as systems stabilized after the massive teleportation event. President Amara Chen entered, her face grim but determined. "Status report, Commander. Teleportation successful, Madam President. Minimal damage to infrastructure. The shield is holding, and our sensors detect no consortium presence. We're safe for now." "For now," President Chen echoed. "But they'll find us eventually. We need allies." Dr. Patil approached, holding the data crystal given to them by Zix. "I've been analyzing this. It contains not just evidence of the consortium's crimes, but also communication frequencies used by resistance movements on subjugated worlds. We're not the only ones who want change." "Then it's time for a different kind of first contact," said Chen. "One based on mutual respect, not domination." Using the frequencies from Zix's crystal, Earth began to reach out. The messages were simple. "We defy the consortium. We can help you do the same." The first to respond were the Trilari, Zix's people, a species that had been under consortium control for 3,000 years. Their technology was deliberately kept primitive by their overlords, but they had secretly maintained ancient knowledge. "We thought we were alone in our resistance," said Elder Kraz, the Trilari leader, during their first communication. Then humans did the impossible. Over the next several months, other subjugated species made contact. The Voss, crystalline beings who had once been great architects. The Novari, a hive mind species whose collective intelligence had been deliberately fragmented by consortium indoctrination. The Kadeshi, bioengineers whose creations had been weaponized against their will. Each had suffered under the consortium's rule. Each had hidden resources, knowledge, or abilities that the consortium had overlooked or underestimated. Together with humans, they formed the Alliance of Free Worlds. Meanwhile, the consortium had not been idle. Their scout ships eventually detected unusual energy signatures from a previously unexplored sector. High Chancellor Vexthor personally led a fleet of 50 warships to investigate. "We've detected consortium ships approaching," Lieutenant Quan reported to Commander Thorn. "Estimated arrival in 48 hours. Then we implement Phase 2, Thorn replied, turning to the representatives of the Alliance species gathered in the command center. "Are your people ready?" Elder Kraz nodded, his reptilian features solemn. "The Trilari stand with humans. The Voss are prepared," chimed the crystalline ambassador, light refracting through her faceted body. One by one, the other species confirmed their readiness. Phase 2 was risky. Instead of hiding, they would reveal themselves and challenge the consortium directly. As the consortium fleet approached, they expected to find a primitive planet cowering behind stolen technology. Instead, they found Earth surrounded by ships of various designs, vessels from every member of the new alliance. This is Commander Eliza Thorne of Earth. Her transmission cut across all consortium frequencies. High Chancellor Vexthor, we knew you would find us eventually. In fact, we wanted you to. On the consortium flagship, Vexthor hissed in contempt. You gather the dregs of the consortium around you, and think this makes you strong. You will all be punished for this insurrection. This isn't an insurrection, Thorne replied. It's a revelation. For too long, the consortium has ruled through fear and manipulation. That ends today. As she spoke, thousands of small objects deployed from the Alliance ships, spreading throughout the space between the two fleets. Each contained a quantum transmitter that began broadcasting the evidence from Zix's crystal to every world and ship in consortium space, the complete, unedited truth of 50,000 years of oppression. The consortium fleet opened fire, but the Alliance ships were ready. Earth vessels used their advanced shield technology to protect their allies. Trilleri ships, appearing primitive from the outside, revealed hidden weapon systems that disabled rather than destroyed their targets. Voss crystalline technology refracted energy beams back at their sources. It was unlike any battle the consortium had ever fought. They were accustomed to overwhelming force against isolated, outmatched opponents. Now they faced a coordinated alliance using technologies and tactics they had never encountered. Aboard the consortium ships, something unprecedented began to happen. Crew members from subjugated species, inspired by the broadcasts and seeing the Alliance's resistance, began to question their orders. On 3 consortium battleships, crew revolts erupted simultaneously. Vexthor watched in disbelief as his fleet fractured from within. What is happening? He demanded of his advisors. It's the humans, replied his security chief. They fight differently. They don't just attack our ships. They attack our control. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was increasingly clear. The Alliance wasn't trying to destroy the consortium forces. They were trying to liberate them. When capture seemed inevitable, Vexthor ordered a retreat, something no High Chancellor had ever done in the history of the consortium. As the remaining consortium ships fled, cheers erupted across the Alliance fleet. But Commander Thorne knew this was just the beginning. They'll return with a larger force, she told President Chen. We've won the battle, but not the war. Perhaps we don't need to win a war, Chen replied thoughtfully. We just need to change the rules of engagement. In the weeks that followed, the Alliance expanded rapidly. The broadcast had reached every corner of consortium space, and dozens more subjugated species reached out, seeking to join. Each brought unique knowledge, technology, or resources that strengthened the whole. The humans shared their technology freely, something the consortium had never done, allowing their allies to develop defenses and infrastructure that had previously been denied to them. In return, they learned from the ancient wisdom of species that had existed for thousands of years before humanity had even discovered fire. 3 months after the battle, reports came from deep within consortium territory. Revolutions had begun on dozens of worlds. Species that had been docile servants for millennia were demanding freedom. The consortium's control was slipping. High Chancellor Vexthor assembled the largest fleet in consortium history. Over 500 warships gathered to crush the Alliance once and for all. But when they arrived at Earth's location, they found something unexpected. Instead of a defensive formation, the Alliance ships were arranged in a circular pattern, surrounding a massive structure that hadn't been there before, a gateway of some kind, large enough for ships to pass through. This is President Amara Chen of Earth, came the transmission. High Chancellor, before you commit to a battle that will cost countless lives on both sides, I invite you to join me for direct negotiations. No weapons, no guards, just conversation. Vexthor's advisors urged caution, suspecting a trap, But the High Chancellor's pride demanded he face these upstarts directly. He agreed to the meeting, which would take place on a neutral station constructed specifically for this purpose. When Vexthor arrived, he found not just President Chen waiting for him, but representatives from every Alliance species, and, surprisingly, members of the 7 high races that had ruled the consortium alongside his own kind. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. "This is an intervention, High Chancellor," said the Alturian representative, a member of one of the consortium's founding species. "We have seen the evidence. For too long, we have allowed the consortium to stray from its original purpose. Our ancestors formed the consortium to guide and protect younger species," added another founder representative, "not to exploit and suppress them." Vexthor's scales darkened with rage. "These primitives have corrupted you with their lies." "Not lies, Vexthor," said President Chen calmly. "Just a different perspective. Humans don't see diversity as a threat. We see it as strength. We don't fear what other species might become. We celebrate their potential." "That is naive foolishness," Vexthor spat. "Without hierarchy, without control, there is only chaos. Is that what you see here?" Chen gestured to the Alliance representatives. "We've formed a cooperative of equals in mere months. Species that your consortium kept isolated from each other have combined their knowledge to achieve what none could alone." She activated a holographic display showing the massive gateway structure. "This is the gateway. It uses technology from 6 different Alliance species, including humans. It can instantly transport ships and people across the galaxy. We built it not for war, but for connection." The implications were staggering. Such technology would completely transform galactic civilization, making distance irrelevant and enabling trade and cultural exchange on an unprecedented scale. "The old consortium ruled through separation and fear," Chen continued. "We propose a new galactic community built on cooperation and mutual respect. Every species has something valuable to contribute if given the freedom to develop naturally." The meeting lasted for days as the foundational principles of a new galactic order were debated. Not all were convinced. Vexthor and his closest allies stormed out, vowing to maintain the old ways. But enough of the consortium leadership saw the potential in the Alliance's vision to agree to major reforms. 6 months later, the Galactic Concordat was signed, replacing the consortium with a new structure that guaranteed autonomy and equal representation for all member species. The Gateway Network expanded, connecting formerly isolated worlds and allowing an explosion of cultural and technological exchange. Commander Thorne, now Admiral of the Concordat's peacekeeping fleet, stood with Dr. Patel on the observation deck of the UES Horizon, watching ships of dozens of designs pass through the massive gateway. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Patel asked. "When we first stepped onto that consortium ship, I thought it was the beginning of the end for humanity. Instead, it was the beginning of something entirely new," Thorne replied. "Not just for us, but for all of them." Below them on Earth, ancient Kadeshi bioengineers worked alongside human scientists to cure diseases that had plagued both species for generations. Voss crystal shapers taught human architects how to create structures that could last millennia. Trilari elders shared philosophical texts that predated human civilization. And in return, humans shared what made them unique: their adaptability, their creativity, their endless capacity to imagine different futures and then work to make them real. "The consortium feared what we might become," Thorne said, watching as a ship of entirely new design, a collaboration between 3 formerly subjugated species, emerged from the gateway. "They never considered what we might help others become. When humanity left the Galactic Council, they didn't just take their future with them. They created a new future for the entire galaxy, one where each species could reach its full potential, where diversity was strength, and where the greatest adventures were still to come." For the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy looked to the future not with fear, but with hope.